Hi everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of Grappling with Life. Today we have our friend Patrick, one of my friends from the Discord community. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, man. My name's Patrick Davis. I train out of Petal, Mississippi, here in the states. I've been doing jujitsu. I think this year is 16 years. Um, I'm a black belt, and uh, I've been fighting MMA just about as long. Maybe like a year less than that, but yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thanks heaps for coming on today. Did you maybe want to just talk a bit about kind of your origin story, how you got into martial arts, kind of wrestling, jiu-jitsu, etc.?
Yeah, for sure, man. So, I got started pretty late in life. Not as late as some people that I've heard, but I was probably about 19 or 20. I had watched the UFC for like a year or so. Thought it was pretty cool, and I was like, you know what, I could do that. And this was back in 2010, and I was living in Colorado at the time, and it wasn't nearly as big. Like now, there's like a gym around every corner, but Um, back then it was you had to travel a bit to find somebody, and all the coaches and stuff were purple belts. Um, but I started at a place called, man, it's been a while. Is Infinite Martial Arts, I think is what it was called, Infinite Mixed Martial Arts, and I was a purple belt teaching out of there. It was a Hoist Gracie affiliate, so I was like, oh man, I know Hoist Gracie. Um, did that for a few months, then they ended up closing down. I can't remember what happened, but they closed down. I had to take a break for a while, and then some black belts actually came to my town and um, opened up a gym, and yeah, the rest is history from there. Um, let's see. I did jujitsu for till I was a blue belt, and then I wanted to fight after that, and then I had my first MMA fight probably like 2023, 2024, or not 23, 2013, sorry. Yeah, 2013. I think it's when I had my first fight.
Okay. And did you wrestle at all in high school, or?
No, it's like I wrestled like, by wrestle I mean like I tried out and it didn't work out in high school, but I thought the singlets were really gay, and I was like, nah, I'm all right. And yeah, but I wish I would have, man. Like wrestling's huge in Colorado. There's a lot of really good wrestlers that I could have come up with. The Olympic Training Center is like pretty close to. It was like an hour away or something like that. That would have been smart for me to have done that, but I'm an idiot and thought I was too cool for the singlet. But
Okay, but I mean, ironically enough, a lot of your game, from what I've seen of you, is kind of based around wrestling. Is that fair to say, or?
yeah, yeah. So my coaches were like, it was very wrestling was very big. Where I started. Um, Both of them wrestled in high school and a little bit in college, and then it's Colorado, so the wrestling culture is huge there. So that impacted me a lot. Um, and uh, yeah, getting ready for like MMA fights actually is what really upped my wrestling game. Um, just because I'm very short for my weight class, so I got to get in. I can't strike with people, so yeah, I ended up
Yeah.
developing my wrestling through that.
Okay. And what's your feeling about kind of the different arts in terms of your MMA career? I mean, how you feel about like utilizing your striking versus kind of implementing your wrestling and jiu-jitsu game? Like, how do you view your game and feel about the different arts?
Yeah. So I think I think jujitsu, of course, is my favorite. I'm a little bit biased, but um, let's see. I do love to wrestle. I think it's a lot of fun. It can be exhausting, but um, I definitely love the art of taking somebody down, and like I like the scrambles of wrestling too, like compared to jiu-jitsu. Like we see a pretty good like difference now, but you know, coming up, jiu-jitsu was just like about laying on your back and hoping they come into your guard. But um, striking wise, uh, so I like striking. I think it's a lot of fun. Um, I have like super short arms. Like my wingspan for I fight at 170, and my wingspan's like 60 something inches. It's super short, dude. Like super short arms, super short legs. So it's never really been my like strength. Um, do you know who Corey Sandhagen is? Fights in
Yeah,
the
yeah, I'm
UFC.
I'm quite a big fan of Sandhagen. Yeah.
He was like one of my first coaches, so like he had a pretty big impact on my game.
Wow.
And yeah, I trained with Dwayne Ludwig and like did a little bit of like the it was, let's see, it was Easton Training Center first, but then like they turned it into like the Muscle Farm or whatever they had. I can't Elevation, was it Elevation Fight Team? I don't remember. They had like so many different names, but like TJ Dillashaw was there, um, a bunch of different guys. But anyway, my point to all that is like it was very striking heavy, and I learned a lot, but I feel like I was just never very good about putting that together compared to like my wrestling and everything. But I guess that's a really long-winded way of saying that I feel like my jiu-jitsu is probably my best part of my game, then my wrestling, and then my striking would be below that.
Okay. And what was it that made you kind of want to get in the MMA cage? I mean, a lot of people find jiu-jitsu quite accessible in terms of it not being striking based, but was it about like kind of the adrenaline or the thrill of it, or yeah, what made you want to get in there and actually fight?
Yeah, I feel like it was mostly just stupidity, but also um, like I always say, yeah, watching UFC, and I just think it was like super cool. And like me and my buddies would always just scrap at the house. I'm like, dude, I could totally do this. So it's mostly delusion why stepped into the cage. Um, but I also had a real chip on my shoulder, so I was like, I could definitely do this. Uh, uh, yeah, looking back on it, I'm like, dude, why did I just not do jiu-jitsu, man? But yeah, it was mostly out of delusion. Uh, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm super glad I did it. It definitely helped like shape my life and everything. It's where I ended up meeting my wife and all that good stuff. But if I could go back, I don't. Even though like I didn't like get a good career out of it, I don't think I would. I would change that. It was just like it was so much fun. Um,
Yeah, that's awesome. And I guess in terms of your aspirations, like, I guess, was it something that you just wanted to do for fun, or were you kind of wanting to go pro one day, or yeah, like, what were you expecting from your career, and how did it kind of pan out?
yeah, for sure, man. So yeah, I definitely thought that it was super easy to get into the UFC. So I convinced myself. I was like, dude, yeah, I could make it there. I just, I just got to train for a little bit. But yeah, I wanted to get into the UFC. I wanted to make it a career and all that good stuff. Pro grappling wasn't really a thing when I started out, so uh, like sometimes they would have some fight to win like tournaments close to me, but uh, people didn't really make money unless you opened a gym. It was the only way to make money at jiu-jitsu. So I'm like, the only way I could do this is if I fight. So um, yeah, it was definitely my thoughts day one. I wanted to do that as a career.
And I guess, yeah, in terms of how your career played out, or I guess looking back on how competitive professional fighting is, I mean, something I've been thinking about is, I guess there are so many factors that go into being a professional fighter, like your technical ability, your genetics, your training, etc. And even within the UFC, like the levels are crazy. You know, even for example, I guess you can look at like Bilal Muhammad, who ran through everyone and then got kind of like quite easily dominated. Or, you know, any number of people. But I guess, what's your experience with kind of observing like the different levels when it comes to fighting and trying to climb the competitive ladder?
Dude, I've thought a lot about this. Like, there's so many factors, like you're saying, that come into place. It's not just, hey man, I train really hard. I've got good technique. I'm definitely gonna make it. That's such a small piece. Like, it's like, are you a gamer? Can you like come alive on game day? Or what's your genetics like? Can you take a punch? Can you hit very hard? I was a big part of like what I ran into was injuries. That was a big thing with me. So that's also another thing. And then luck, just blind luck. You know what I mean? Um, it's like also like which I guess this would be anything, but the ability to market yourself is such a huge deal. Like so like the kind of like the thing I don't like about MMA, and this kind of, you could kind of see this in jiu-jitsu too, but it's pretty bad in MMA, is like you're just trying to sell tickets, and essentially what you're trying to do is like promoters will they want the guy who sells the most tickets to win the fight. So they'll match the guy who sells a lot of tickets against somebody who really sucks, and then it makes them look better, and then that's kind of how like everybody builds a career, you know. And I was never good at that. I should have been better at that, but that's definitely if I were to tell anybody starting out, be like, dude, learn how to market yourself. That's such a big deal.
Yeah, especially in retrospect with your interest in pro wrestling, you probably should have had some sort of persona.
Yeah, definitely should have. Definitely way too socially awkward for that to happen. I could never make it work, man.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few people in the UFC that play the socially awkward angle. Josh Hockett, I guess he's kind of a up and comer that's climbed the ranks really heavily recently, and he's got like the dual personality. I'm a really big fan of him personally, man. His wrestling is crazy, and he's very entertaining in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
Dude, actually, you know what? I hadn't even heard of him until you posted that in the chat, and then I'm like, who's this guy? And then I went and looked him up, and man, I actually agree. I think he's got phenomenal wrestling, and he does a really good job about like not just like entertainment, like being awkward, like you said, outside the cage, but I think he's a very entertaining fighter in the cage. He does a really good job just putting the pressure on. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of his. So, maybe the flipping people off.
Yeah, and I think that.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say, I think that really illustrates your point. I mean, you know, that guy went from being completely unknown to coming into the UFC in his first fight and marketing himself, and now he's fighting at the White House. That's absolutely insane.
Dude, I know, man. Like, it, just a little bit of marketing, like a little bit of, like, making yourself stand out, such a big deal.
Absolutely. And something else I wanted to talk to you about, I guess you talked about the different factors that go into being a successful fighter. And one of the things you mentioned was being a gamer, as you put it. So being able to actually perform on the night. What was your experience with kind of getting into the cage for your first time? I imagine that was pretty nerve-wracking. And how have you kind of evolved in general throughout your career in terms of being able to like psychologically perform when you need to?
Yeah, I've definitely had good days and bad days with that. Like, but as the more you do it, the more you can make a system out of it. And one of the biggest things that it took me so long to realize, maybe not everybody's this way, but I sure as hell am. It's like, it doesn't matter how often you do it. I get nervous for everything that I do. Like, whether it's just a jujitsu competition or whether it's a fight, um, it's all the same, man. And like, and you can control, like, you'd be surprised at what you can control as far as like letting your emotions get away from you. So, um, uh, when I first fought, I had nerves, but it wasn't too bad because I didn't know what to expect. So there was a bit of a delusion there where I was like, "Hey, it won't be that bad." And then I got front kicked in the face. I won that fight, but God, I got my ass whooped a little bit. And then I realized, oh man, like this is real. And then my second fight came, and dude, I got pummeled. My like for that one, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't nervous at all for that one because I thought I was hot shit, and like I went in there, I was like, oh, dude, I'm gonna smoke this guy. Um, and man, he split open my nose, like it was like a giant gash right here, and he just beat the brakes off me. Um, and then I learned through that like one, I'm not as good as I think I am, and then two, promoters will definitely lie to you, and they'll say like, "Oh, this guy sucks," but he's actually really good. Um, uh, yeah, past that point, that's when I really started to get nerves for stuff, because I learned, oh, dude, I'm not invincible. I can
Mm-hmm.
get my ass beat. Um, and then I've had moments where like I definitely like shit the bed where I let my nerves get the better of me, and then I had a terrible performance. And um, but through all that, what I learned is like um, if you have something like a mantra the day of, and you just like, there's two things that I do now when I compete. One, if I feel like the nerves bubbling up, I just like I kind of move around a little bit. It's just your body wanting to move, so I do a little something. And then two, I'll say things like, this is stupid, but this is just what helps me get calm. I'll say things like ice cold or like cold water, and I just like picture literally just like cold water. It's dumb, but it's essentially just like trying to anchor me to something, and something with like without emotion is what I'm trying to do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll do other small things like you try and get the smells and try and get the feel of like fabric, something, you just try and ground yourself. Um, so that's the day of the something that you can do to prepare yourself, to give yourself even more confidence is make all this stuff familiar. So like do as much situational training as you can. Um, make it as close to the fight as you can. Like have people yell at you while you spar, or have no music on while training, or um, maybe there's like drills that we used to do where we'd spin around in a circle a bunch and then hit pads like you were rocked. Just things like that, you know. You're just trying to make yourself as close to the real thing as possible. Um, yeah, I think there's preparation that needs to go in place, and then of course the day of, and I think those help out a ton.
Okay, and I mean that's really interesting. The whole kind of setting your environment. I've never really thought about it. It sounds silly almost, but spinning in a circle to simulate getting rocked and trying to strike, or having people yell at you. I think that would be pretty effective. And what kind of psychological state of mind are you going for when you compete? Are you looking to be like as calm as possible, or do you try to fight with any sort of aggression or intensity, or like what are you trying to get to compete optimally?
Dude, that's actually a really good question. Yeah, so like For me, I think people can be different on like what gets them going, but um, for me, I just need a little something. I don't need much because I don't want to get myself too jittery. Um, but I just I just think uh, hustle to your score is pretty much what I'm trying to make myself do. So like I'm not spazzing, but I'm trying to look uh, to dictate the control as quickly as possible. So I found that if I go in too relaxed, people just walk all over me, and I get scored on or I get hurt really quickly. Something. Um, and then if I go too anxious, I usually just gas myself out really fast. So there's a good middle ground for me where I'm thinking like, all right, I'm going to be firm, but I'm not going to be spazzing. If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm doing a good job describing that.
No, I think that's I think you did do a good job of describing that, and that's kind of what I found. I remember when I first had I think my first jiu-jitsu competition, I was just so extremely nervous. I don't know if you've had this experience, but basically you don't understand the intensity at which things happen, and you just like get absolutely steamrolled. I mean, that's what happened to me, and then I tried to like overcompensate for that by being like really aggressive and intense, and that didn't work either. I was just like adrenaline spiked, and I was like fucked after the first 20 seconds. And then my most recent competition, not the best performance, but like I guess what I came into after listening to Gordon Ryan, I guess because kind of an unapologetic fanboy of Gordon Ryan, was I tried to be like extremely present and calm. And I actually
Yeah.
felt good in terms of like my ability to compete and be technical. I was a tiny bit like under aggressive and not pushing the pace as much as I'd like. But that's probably the closest I've gotten in terms of like somewhere I felt like I could compete kind of comfortably and like kind of implement my game and perform well, I guess.
Yeah, no, man, that's very well said. The I mean, I don't know if this has happened to you, but man, there's sometimes and of course, I think we all are trying to make this happen, but when you can hit that flow state inside of competing, whew, man, there's nothing like it. That's kind of like what I'm trying to do whenever I compete. I'm like, dude, I just want to hit the flow state, man. For the what was it? The Avatar state from Avatar. I don't know if you ever watched that show as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the goal, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fine line, though, isn't it? Like, I guess what we're both talking about is like being able to have enough intensity, but not so much that you get like adrenaline spiked or lose your presence. So, yeah, I think it's just like a tightrope walk, basically. Like, do you like how often do you think you've been able to hit your flow state when you compete? Is it relatively rare, or
Um, I feel like jujitsu wise, I feel like I can hit it pretty often. I hit it more
yeah,
consistently than I would think. MMA wise, it once I think one time. Um, always a nervous wreck, and I'm always yeah. But dude, that's something like I really learned is like uh these like these really good guys, these pros. They like know that they might make a mistake, but they just know that they're gonna correct course, and it's almost like a good mindset is great, but it's almost like they don't even care. They're just like, screw it. Whatever happens, whatever I think doesn't matter. I'm gonna go out there and do my thing. Um, and I always thought that was like I don't know, very very impressive. I don't know how they do it, man, but yeah, it's very impressive to see them do that.
okay. And in terms of your career, have you decided to kind of retire now, or like where are you at in terms of your career?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna do one more fight, and it was supposed to be this month, but it got pushed back to October due to some venue stuff. But I'm gonna do one more fight, and then I'm gonna concentrate on doing just grappling, and then grappling wise, I think I'm gonna do one more trials run, and then probably do some super fights, some tournaments, but mostly coach. I got I got kids now, and it's just so hard to get all that training time in that you needed to be able to compete at a good level. You know?
Have you thought about what happens if you have like an extremely good performance in your last fight and you kind of hit your flow state?
Yeah, I definitely have. That's hilarious. It's like, it would be, well, come on, I did pretty good. Maybe I need to do one more. No,
Yeah,
nah,
that could be a UFC run.
what is it? Title run, Tony, like Tony Ferguson. Yeah, yeah. Um, nah,
But I
yeah,
mean, so you're definitely committed to retiring though?
yeah, definitely. I told my wife, I was like,
Okay.
she's yeah, she's like, is this the last one? I was like, yeah, I promise, this is it. This is it for me. So
Yeah, okay. And I guess, is there a part of you, like, I mean, that you think you'll miss, like, the experience of, like, walking out, preparing for an MMA fight? Obviously, you'll still be able to compete, but there's probably a few things that can compare to, like, the rush of, the walkout and fighting. So do you think that will kind of sit okay with you, or how do you think that will feel and look?
yeah, hey, asking the deep questions. Uh, yeah, how do I put this? I will definitely, I'll definitely miss it. You know how it is, like when one chapter closes and another opens. Sometimes you can miss the old chapter, but you're glad you're in the new one. Um, I'll for sure miss that rush of adrenaline and like the discipline of a fight camp and the lead up to the fight. There's honestly, like you said, there's really nothing quite like it. Um, but there'll always be a small part of me that misses it. But at the same time, dude, like I feel so good what I'm heading towards now that I know I won't want to be in this state of fighting forever, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And as you've kind of alluded to, I think things change in your life. You have children, you kind of settle down into a committed relationship, and those have their own benefits and positivities. So, especially that you had the opportunity to compete in an MMA as well, and you kind of had your time. In terms of transitioning to coaching, I guess, like, how does that compare? I mean, do you get a lot of satisfaction around coaching and kind of passing down your own experience and knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So uh, it's I live in a small town here. Like I moved from Colorado back to Mississippi to a small town, and it's a very small uh, community as far as martial arts goes. And I feel like it's my responsibility to step up the competition and like make the quality here really high that it could be. So we have a lot of athletes that come out of here, like a lot of like pro football players and everything will come out of here. And I feel like we could take those people and turn them into like some absolute killers, like as far as like fighting and jujitsu and stuff. So um, I yeah, I think with coaching, it's it's a lot of fun. You don't get as much as like the physical reward, but there's, in my opinion, there's like a lot of like sense of, I guess, just sense of accomplishment in developing these young minds and helping people out. And it doesn't even have to be like making world champions, but just like helping out the everyday person, like being able to unlock that part of them, you know, as like, oh, I know how to fight now. So I feel like that's something that I'm meant to do.
Okay, interesting. And you also mentioned you have children, I guess. Do you have feelings about like one day your children potentially fighting MMA, or kind of how you feel about even just teaching them self-defense or martial arts?
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna make them like learn how to defend themselves. Funny enough, I think I would be like kind of upset if like one of my kids wanted to fight. I was like, it's such a like such a rough path. I'm like, I don't know if I want you guys to do that." Um, but yeah, I will definitely be teaching them how to defend themselves.
Yeah, awesome. You're almost better off kind of like it's almost easier to become a doctor than it is like a professional UFC fighter, right?
Dude, 1000%, man. Yeah, you'll be in a little bit in debt, but at least you won't have freaking CTE. You know?
Interesting. And in terms of like, I guess, self defense and stuff like that, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you've used your own martial arts experience or knowledge for self defense or?
You know, it's funny. I think I had one little small scuffle during a house party one time, but I've never really had any like encounters, which is weird. Um, Other than like beating up my friends, I've never really had a street fight or anything.
Yeah, nice. What about, I guess you were talking earlier about how kind of martial arts has affected your life positively. I mean, do you feel like it's given you a nice sense of confidence or just like kind of comfort and security in terms of how you live your life or how it's shaped it?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's helped me out so much. Confidence, discipline. It's helped me learn how to socialize with people. Uh, yeah, I developed a lot of life skills from martial arts. I wouldn't have a family at all if it wasn't for martial arts. So it's definitely an amazing thing for sure.
Yeah, it's funny that you talk about social skills and kind of interacting with people because in jiu-jitsu specifically, I think like your social skills, I mean, like they don't really matter as much because firstly, a lot of the kind of focus point for the conversation is around like technical ability and knowledge. So, a lot of the things are like
Yeah.
asking someone how to do something, them telling you, and you're really grateful. And then like by the time you're doing any like further socialization, it's typically after you've rolled and like you've got all the endorphins going, and you've just been kind of rolling with each other. So everyone gets like a free pass for like being socially awkward as well afterwards. So it's kind of like the best environment, I guess, to have like a pretty big social pass, I think.
That's funny. That's really well said. Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure, man.
Absolutely. Let me ask you something else. This is something I've been thinking about, and I was going to get a few different people's takes on it. Say you did end up in a physical altercation. Let's say that I don't know. You're just walking down the street, for example, and you had to intervene in something. What's your opinion on like the use of force in self defense? Like, some people are of the opinion that you should kind of go like really hard basically to mitigate any risk to yourself, and some people are of the opinion that you should kind of use your force proportionally. So you may like, I'll give you a specific example. So some people would say like, okay, like you would basically take the guy down and pin him and not let him move, and other people would say that if you got to the point of a physical altercation, you should basically be like kind of debilitating them, like getting to the point of like breaking their legs or choking them unconscious. Like, where do you kind of find yourself theoretically in the realm of kind of like use of force when it comes to self defense?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think context matters here, like the situation that you're in. Um, if if it were like I don't know what's going on as far as like uh maybe it's like I'm in a new environment and one random dude attacks me and we don't really have any information of like we just met this guy, like there's no really much lead up to any of this. I would probably look to put the dude out pretty quick. um Probably because I'd be too nervous about just pinning somebody. You always have to worry about someone coming up and like kicking you in the back of the head or something. That's a real thing. So I'd probably look to put the dude out as quickly as possible. That way I can stand back up on my feet and kind of keep an eye on my surroundings and everything. Um, but uh, yeah, now you got me thinking, dude. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the best option is.
Yeah, it's a really interesting kind of theoretical question. When I started first thinking about this, I was in the Bondi area, which is in Sydney. I was there for like a work conference, and so I did a drop in a local gym, and there was a black belt there. And he was basically talking about how he'd worked security, and if he was forced into an altercation, he would take the first sub that he found. So, for example, if he ended up in a leg entanglement, he would just rip a heel hook. And I was like, "Fuck, dude, that's pretty brutal." Like ripping a heel hook on some random guy, especially when you're like a really big black belt. Because I mean, I feel like, yeah, like the actual risk that someone poses to you is arguably relatively small, but to be fair, his argument is that, you never know what can happen, and you've alluded to that as well. You have like their friends, knives, guns, etc. And I think this like gets me as well, as I have like kind of a more of like a gentle passive nature. Like I think that I would be comfortable if I had to, like engaging in some sort of altercation if I was forced to. But I feel like due to my nature, I would really hesitate like having to like break their legs or anything. I think choking someone out doesn't have the same doesn't bring up the same hesitancy to me. Like I don't think it's that bad choking someone out compared to like breaking their arm. I think that's pretty kind of brutal. But
Yeah.
anyway, I guess I just wanted someone's different take on that, because that's what I've been thinking about lately, and I can see both sides of the argument. So I'm just trying to like, I guess, navigate it or feel it out a bit.
No, man, that's actually honestly a really good question. And I need to think on that. But I'm leaning towards the other black belt. I'm leaning towards that.
Yeah.
But I definitely see what you're saying.
Cool. And then, one of my other questions I had for you is, I guess, across your kind of game, what's your favorite technical aspect, whether it's like a particular submission or sequence?
Yeah. So right now, my favorite thing to do is I love outside camping, and I've just been using the hell out of front headlock chokes. So like the seated katakatame, or is that what it's called? What, the Walsh choke, and the guillotine and the short arm darce. I've been using those like crazy. That's probably mostly what I play right now. Sometimes, like if people stay committed to their back, I hit a lot of north-south chokes, but yeah, it was leg locks for a very long time, and then everybody got so good at defending leg locks that now I prefer to choke somebody.
Yeah, nice. Okay. And I guess, what are your thoughts on the current landscape of the UFC at the moment? Have you been following it closely, or what are you kind of looking forward to, or who have you got your eye on at the moment?
So as far as like the UFC goes, there's people I enjoy to watch. Volkanovski's probably my favorite fighter. Then Topuria is really good. There's a few other heavier guys that I enjoy to watch. But to be honest, man, like the UFC's kind of in a weird spot right now. It's like it's almost like they don't have any superstars. So to me, it can feel a little, what's the word I'm looking? It can feel a little bland sometimes. Like you've got all these killers in there, but for some reason it feels like a giant just hodgepodge. You don't really, nothing really stands out. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like as far as like entertainment goes.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I remember back in the heyday when the UFC was peaking, like when you had like McGregor versus Khabib and all of those things, or even being able to watch like John Jones during his run. Nowadays, like there are a few select fights that you really look forward to, like whenever Taporia fights or Volkanovski, etc. But yeah, nowadays it feels like you're looking out for like a particular card with like a particular matchup, and even then, sometimes they're a bit shallow. It's like you might get to see one really interesting fight, and the rest
Yeah.
are pretty mid. I don't know if it's like just having settled into like the routine of the UFC now that they do such frequent cards and everyone's like been watching it for a while now, but. I think that that's like a shared kind of sentiment amongst UFC fans at the moment. It's kind of like lost its charm, or um, it's kind of like lost what used to make it feel special a tiny bit, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if like I don't know if it suffers from just fatigue of it, like you were saying. There's like an event like once a week, you know. So I don't know if that's the case, or the fact that they don't pour money into superstars like they used to. Um, the new ownership definitely doesn't do as good of a job, in my opinion. But who knows? I'm not sure.
And earlier you mentioned that you've actually trained with some very talented, successful UFC fighters, such as Corey Sandhagen, for example. Kind of going back to your training time, was there anything that you noticed about them that was unique or special, or kind of what you can connect with them having had like a successful run in the UFC?
Yeah, the number one thing I noticed, like the really, really good guys, what they do is um, they're very intentional with everything that they did. They would always make sure that they were doing specific things in each practice. That was probably the number one trait they all had, which I thought was very impressive. Um, let's see. Um, Corey, he had two things that always stood out to me, other than being intentional. Is like he had insane cardio. That dude never got tired. Um, like we would one time, he was injured, so he started doing cardio when we all started sparring, and then at the end of the session, he was still doing cardio. So I was like, "Holy shit, dude! Like this guy does not get tired." And also, he hits insanely hard. The hardest I've ever been kicked was from that dude. He hits so hard, man. Um, let's see. Uh, Nate Marquardt. He's a giant human being. He doesn't look like he's humongous, but he's huge. TJ Dillashaw is. Uh, he's a workhorse. He would train like 4 times a day. He's also insanely. He's way bigger in person. He looks tiny on the TV, but he's pretty huge in real life. Um, let's see. Uh, Dwayne Ludwig is weird as hell, but he's also pretty funny. Um, and there's a bunch more guys that got different things, but yeah, the biggest things I noticed was like the really, really good guys. They pay attention, and then they're very intentional into what they do.
Okay. And yeah, I guess you mentioned earlier there are so many factors that go into being, even making it into the UFC, let alone being a champion. If you had to narrow it down to like, I guess like the biggest things, like do you think fundamentally it's like kind of a genetic thing, or just like someone's like raw talent and athleticism? Like what do you think like actually if you had to like create like a UFC champion, what do you think it would be?
Yeah, genetics is up there, but I'd say genetics and luck will kind of go together, you know? Um, to be honest, that's like the number one thing in my opinion. Um, but so that, um, let's see, I would say gamesmanship, so like being able to perform on game day is a big deal. And then marketability. So those three things, like luck, genetics, gamesmanship, and then marketing. Those three things I feel like, are the most important to get you to the UFC. Because you could be super talented, uh, you could be a hard worker or whatever, and then if your genetics aren't good, if you're not marketable, you won't make it. You know what I mean?
And something that you said earlier that interested me was that you mentioned that when you won your first fight, you felt like you were kind of on top of the world and unbeatable. How is it that you would say MMA kind of affects your perception of yourself? I mean, something I'm thinking of, for example, are like people that became extremely famous and successful, like Conor McGregor, for example, had like a historic run. And then I think it's fair to say he kind of lost himself for a period of time to like alcoholism, drug use, etc. But I guess, yeah, how do you balance, I guess, kind of growing confidence within yourself when you win, but also keeping like your head on your shoulders and having to become like extremely famous, or even just like managing your ego when you start to win fights and come up in like the regional scene?
Yeah, that is such a hard balance because you need some ego to be able to like push yourself forward, because you have to believe, you have to have this crazy belief in yourself in order to do something crazy like that. So you're gonna have a little bit of an edge to you, no matter how humble you may seem. You're gonna have a little bit of an edge, which is important. That's how you're competitive. But I think honestly, man, it's like, I think it comes down to your support structure, and having people keep you in check. I think that's probably the most important. Because if you just have like nobody to keep you in line, you might get a little too lost in the sauce. Too many yes men will definitely screw you over, dude. I'd rather have a bunch of people being like, nah, dude, you suck, than a bunch of people just kissing my ass all the time. But yeah, I feel like the support network is definitely the number one thing.
Yeah, okay, interesting. And I guess your own experience as you began to like grow and come up in martial arts, how did you find like having a relationship with your coaches, like first starting and kind of them having an impact on your life? Like, was that something significant that kind of guided you and shaped you into who you are, or did you always find the relationship with the coaches to be like quite compartmentalized? I'm not sure if you get what I mean.
No, I get exactly what you mean. And honestly, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've had a mixed bag. I've had coaches that were like, I've had a really good coach, but he was like, it was compartmentalized. Like he was just like, no effect on my personality or my personal life at all. But it had a ton of effect on my training. Then I've had a coach who I was like best friends with. He's like an older brother to me. He gave me a place to live, gave me a job. He was a super good dude. Then I've had the opposite, where I've had a shitty coach who had a terrible impact on my life, and then eventually one of my coaches ended up becoming my brother-in-law. So it's a mixed bag, and I think it's definitely really important to be, if you are a coach, you don't have to hand out life lessons. Your number one goal is to teach your students, but it doesn't hurt to be a good person and to help with people's lives as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I guess I found martial arts to have had an extremely positive impact on my life, and there's like a sentiment. I'm not sure if you like browse Reddit much or read like the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu subreddit, but there's like a massive sentiment, especially when like a controversy happens in Jiu-Jitsu, like when a coach is found to have been like, abusive or whatever, which is obviously not cool. But I don't think that necessarily has to like put a black mark against the names of like the millions of other jiu-jitsu coaches. But yeah, the sentiment that I see sometimes is like, coaches are really only there from like a business perspective. Like they're there to teach you, and it's transactional. You pay them, you have a membership, and then you kind of move on. People say, like coaches don't have any right to give you like philosophical advice or direction. But in my personal experience, something I've been thinking about is for really anyone to become a at the level of like being a jiu-jitsu coach, like to have enough tenacity and resilience to make it to black belt, brown belt, etc. In my opinion, there's like a reasonable chance that they're going to have some positive characteristics to themselves. Like they're probably going to be resilient or technically proficient or, encouraging. So I think like at the very least, you should be open-minded about, allowing your coach to teach you things that kind of extend outside of jiu-jitsu, things that are like positive or philosophical. Obviously, you have to be discerning because, as you've pointed out, sometimes your coaches can have a negative impact on your life. I'm not disputing that, but I guess what I'm getting at is my experience, with my jiu-jitsu coaches thus far has been that not only has doing martial arts had a positive impact on my life, it's also given me direction in terms of like how to try to be a good person, how to be disciplined, etc. I think something I've been thinking about is people discount that a lot, but I think that it's wise at least to have an open mind about like getting as much as you can from the martial arts experience. Not only like technical prowess and physical prowess, but also like enhancing yourself mentally, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree with 100% with what you said. That was really well stated. The I think with all things, you need to, like you said, have an open mind and like learn how to use nuance like it should be. And just treat the coach as like another like a friend or something where they can have some good advice. You're not looking for them to be some magical guru, but it doesn't mean that they have no skills of life. So, like you said, just a little bit of nuance with it. Um, but I have a question for you. Actually, I have a couple questions for you. I don't want to hijack your interview here, but what is your goal with jiu-jitsu? The first part, and then the second part is actually, let's just go to the first part. Let's do the first part first. What's your goal with jiu-jitsu?
Okay. No, I appreciate the question. It's cool to answer. So I guess the thing that got me into jiu-jitsu, actually, when I was a kid, my dad, he wanted me to do some martial arts for self-defense. So I started by doing like Hapkido, which is kind of like more of a traditional martial art. And back in the day, we didn't really know any better, obviously. And still, as a kid, doing Hapkido is cool. You get like social skills, base athleticism, etc. But a very small component of Hapkido was actually Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm not sure if my coach like encountered and then started teaching it. So when I was a kid, I actually did like one or two Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments. And then I moved from where I was and I moved to a more rural area. And then I was put into like karate and all that stuff. And then I kind of lost interest. I did a bit of boxing, but I've never been naturally very good at striking or comfortable with it. Grappling, I'm not like too bad in terms of just being able to get in and do it naturally. And then over time, basically, I always had like a faint memory of jiu-jitsu or martial arts throughout my life as I got older. And I remember that it was a positive thing for me. And I became aware of like the UFC obviously as well. And I was kind of talking about this earlier, but as I've kind of grown up throughout my life, I've gone through like, as everyone does, hard experiences. And I've always had this like faint idea of martial arts giving you like a sense of strength or purpose or like character. And another big thing for me is I always wanted to be able to like fight and defend myself. I always felt this like vague sense of insecurity, like because I knew that like martial arts was real and effective, and I knew that like if you knew how to fight, you could like actually beat someone and defeat them. And I always had this like knowledge or sense of myself. I was like, you can't fight, and if you have to, you're gonna get fucked up, and it's gonna be like embarrassing, and you're not gonna be able to defend yourself. And I always thought like, what if you're with, it's kind of dumb, but I always thought like, what if you're with a girl or something and something happens and you get like the shit beaten out of you? I've never really spoken about this before, but something that happened was like, when I was in university, I actually did get into like a physical altercation. And I didn't get like hurt very badly, but I got beaten up. Like the guy beat me in a fight. And to be honest, it's like embarrassing to say, but I was like, I didn't really know what to do during the fight. I was pretty like kind of scared about it. And I felt like shit after that. Like it was not a good experience for me. And then that really like emphasized the thing that was in the back of my head. It was like, you don't know how to fight. And that made me really insecure. And so one of my goals was to like learn how to fight, to get into jiu-jitsu, and to grapple. And so I was lucky enough to eventually move to an area where I was offered, and I was obviously pretty nervous getting to it, but I did it. And I feel like now I've gotten to the point where I'm quite comfortable in terms of like self-defense. Like I'm lucky enough to be like relatively big. I probably weigh like 105 kilos at the moment, a lot of which is fat to be fair, but you know, I strength train and you know, like I've been able to compete and win a few matches. So I feel like comfortable enough that in a random altercation I would be fine. So now I guess my relationship with jiu-jitsu is just that it gives me like an identity and a sense of purpose. It keeps me like disciplined and I just enjoy it. I like it and I want to continue to be successful at it. So yeah, now that I've checked off self-defense, I guess I just want to keep going and get as good as I can basically.
Nice. Yeah, you seem like you're very dedicated to it. So that made me wonder what I mean, some of the most dedicated people I've seen aren't like trying to make a career out of it or anything, but I was just curious what your main goal with it is. But that's good, man. Like I definitely get that. And then I have a second question, a super serious question.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to fight an animal with jiu-jitsu, what animal would it be?
Like what's the like most threatening animal I think that I could beat with jiu-jitsu?
That's a better way to put that. Yeah, I was gonna say just any animal, but yeah, let's see. What's the most dangerous animal you think you could fight with jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, that's a great question. Oh, dude, that's a hard one. I'm just trying to think. I guess I can't think of too many animals off the top of my head, but I think I'd like to say like an average dog, I guess. Like, I feel like I could probably fucking either sprawl onto it into a front headlock and then kind of hit a go behind and like apply a bulldog choke or something. I guess.
Dude,
that would be like, yeah.
That's a really good game plan. I'm stealing that. Got wild dogs all over my neighborhood. I'm gonna snap down, go behind, hit them with the bulldog choke.
What about you? What's your animal that you're gonna murder with jiu-jitsu?
Dude, I know I could mess up some common household animals, goldfish, dogs, cats. I think the most dangerous. This sounds weird, but I think I could beat the shit out of a deer. Like they don't seem dangerous, but they're pretty wild, man. But I think I could mess one up. I might pull guard or something, and then like maybe hit like a sweep or something to get up on top. But I think I could mess up a deer pretty good.
Yeah, nice. I thought you were gonna say you're gonna heel hook it after you pulled guard. That's pretty fucked up. Ripping a heel hook on a deer.
Yeah, that's how I get it on top, dude. I hit the reap, pop a quick heel hook, and then come out on top and then choke him out anyway.
Yeah, nice. And just going back to your first question, I guess like now that I live in such a rural area and I only have like one or two training partners, I do have to be dedicated. Like, there's like a really seedy sports building for like kind of the community, and we've got some mats, and it's really annoying because I have to like physically drag out all these puzzle mats and like fucking create the actual mat every single time we train and all that shit. But it's just like I guess like an added layer of like reinforcing your dedication and stuff. I don't actually feel that I'm losing too much out because I can still get good technical knowledge in terms of like watching instructionals and stuff. It's just the diversity of training partners because I only have like one or two people to train with. I really miss being able to like get tested against different skill levels and stuff. But I don't know. It's hard to explain exactly why, but I just love grappling, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu just for like the community, pushing yourself, getting better, being able to defeat people, etc. That's, I don't know. I can't exactly articulate it, but I'm really committed to it just because I love it so much. Just I like it.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about like the physical challenge and the puzzle solving and the camaraderie, and when all those are combined together, I feel like it makes a really good. So I think jiu-jitsu isn't like it's individual pieces; it's the sum of all its parts is what makes it so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually a really great way to describe it. I don't know, like people quit jujitsu or they don't come, but to me, jujitsu is like a privilege. I don't think there's anything that makes me feel better or that I enjoy more. But I don't know, like how it applies to different people. Like I guess some people feel about it differently or view it differently to the point where they're not as into it. I don't know how you feel about this. This kind of ties back to what I was talking about earlier, but to me, especially after you do your first jiu-jitsu lesson and you find out like how effective it is and what the community is like and you know the fact that you can learn the particular skill set, it's hard for me to imagine like going to a jiu-jitsu lesson and then like not coming back, right? Because it's kind of like being shown this like really cool like thing and then you're like, oh, I just don't know how people can't get hooked, I guess. But yeah, I understand people have different feelings and opinions and stuff.
Yeah, same, man. I literally the first lesson I took, I was like, all right, I'm gonna be doing this forever. This is sick. Yeah, I don't get it either, man. I think how people aren't obsessed with it.
Cool. Yeah, I might wrap up, but one more question I had for you to kind of close up. You talk about how you're transitioning to more of a coaching role now. What are the things that you would want to like instill in your own students in terms of, I guess, like the kind of main things that you think are important, not only for jiu-jitsu and the art itself, but like how to be a good person and kind of live like a good life?
Um, oh man, coming with the heavy questions. Let's see. Um, so I think I'm trying to think of good universal concepts here, but um, a couple would be one is like I think humility goes a long way in jujitsu and or martial arts and in like life. I think that's a super important thing. Um, the so humility, and then also like serving people. I think is a big deal. Whether it's in the gym, I was always bad about this at first, and then I didn't. I feel like I didn't really become. It's funny that I feel like I wasn't as good until I started doing this. But like serving people, like, hey man, how can I help you today? Like, try and get better. Like, what work do you need to get done? And then I started to learn more doing that, and I think in the real world too, like trying to help people, I think is a big deal. So those two concepts I feel like apply to martial arts and in real life.
Okay, sorry, one more question based off what you said. I guess, do you ever feel as if like once you learned martial arts it allowed you to be like kind of who you are? I mean, you talked about how it kind of gave you the confidence to socialize and interact with people. And even as I said, I think that I was like very kind of insecure and uncomfortable before I did martial arts, and it basically allowed me to just like be myself and like not almost like not hide behind a character or a veil. Because now whenever I do anything, I just feel like I'm myself, and I don't really feel that sense of like insecurity or worry. I don't know, like it's very freeing for me. I think it's given me like a lot of just like liberty and freedom. Can you relate to that all? Or?
Yeah, absolutely, man. The what's funny is it was both for me. There was a long time where like I kind of hid behind martial arts because I didn't do a good job fixing things that I needed to fix in my life, and then but it also gave me the confidence and everything that like you were talking about to like actually go and fix those things in my life. And then now, like you said, I feel like I have a lot of freedom and I can be myself, and so yeah, I feel like it does unlock that potential in you as long as you don't use it as a shelter, like a crutch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great counterpoint that I hadn't thought of. Some people can kind of lose themselves in martial arts to the point where they're like obsessed about it and are hiding behind it. It's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Cool. Righto. Anything else that you wanted to say or touch on?
Nah, dude. I mean, I really appreciate you letting me come on here and talk about jiu-jitsu, man. Nothing better, you know?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Thanks heaps for your time. And yeah, no, that was sick. Thank you.
All right, bro. You take it easy, man.
Cool. See you, man.
See you, dude.